Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Melissa and this is Melissa Knits for Fun. Well, today my video is about where I buy my yarns. One of the most frequent questions I get anywhere that I post a video where I'm sitting in front of this wall of yarn is, where do you get those beautiful cones? Well, I want to talk to y'all today about not only where do I get these beautiful cones, but where do I buy yarn in general? What are my go-to places to source different things? Now, let me start out by saying, and this is a full stop statement, my first stop is always my local yarn store. My local yarn store is Sweet Skeins out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Letha Frizzell is the owner. She has made such a great community, and so of course I support her. I have a friendship with her. I support her for multiple reasons. I love her. I have a friendship. I've done an interview with her. You can see she is a delightful woman. But I also support her because she is a small business, and she is in fact my local yarn store. And guys, you have to support your local yarn stores or they may not be here tomorrow. It is really hard right now for small businesses. So if you are able to afford to support your local yarn store, be sure that you do that first. Now, I realize that I am very blessed in saying that even if it costs a little bit more, if Letha can get it or if she carries it, that is where I'm going. I understand that not everyone is able to do that, and that is why I'm going to share my secrets on how to get a fantastic deal on yarn pretty much anywhere in the world. I have resources all over the place. I will be giving you some yarn shops from the United States, from Canada, from Denmark, from Latvia, from Italy, from the UK, from Scotland, from, I said Denmark, I think, Australia. I'm sure I'm missing something in there, but I will get there. All right, guys, let's start out with probably where I've ordered the most overseas and where the majority, I mean, I have a lot of cones from other places, but I would say the majority of these cones come from Holst Garn. Holst Garn is a yarn company that is in Denmark. It is, I don't remember what part of Denmark, but it is in Denmark. They do sell directly to people, so they will ship it to you worldwide. They also do have presence in local yarn stores. My local yarn store only carries Lucia and Coast, and she doesn't carry every color. She doesn't carry cones. Now, if she carries the color I want in Coast, I will go ahead and buy it in the little balls, in the 50-gram balls. But if she just doesn't carry it, then I go ahead and order directly from Holst Garn. And I have ordered a lot over the years. As you can see, I have a lot of different colors. I've shared on my yarn review how I feel about their yarns. But that is, if I'm buying Holst Garn and it's not at my local yarn store, that is where I go. That is my go-to every single time, is just to order directly from them. Shipping, it's not prohibitively expensive. It goes by weight, so it can be as little as like a little bit over $20. And then it gets not prohibitively expensive, but progressively expensive from there. It just depends on how, do you feel like that you're saving enough money to justify the expense of the shipping? Only you can answer that. So that is one place that I go and I order from. Next on my list for cones is Woolly Yarn. And this is where I have told Letha before in the past, there is only one yarn that I will not purchase from her, even if she carries it. And that is the Cardiff Cashmere. Now, Cardiff Cashmere is about $30 US per 25-gram skein of yarn. I cannot afford that. I primarily knit garments, and so it takes about 13 balls to make a sweater for me. $30 a ball at 13 balls, ooh, that's a very expensive sweater. And so I cannot justify spending that kind of money on a sweater for myself. That I live in the South. I'm not getting you know, 9 months of use out of it. If I lived somewhere like in Norway, or if I lived, you know, in Canada, up in the really cold parts of Canada or somewhere, I could justify maybe spending that much money if I'm wearing sweaters all the time. But living in the southern United States, it doesn't get cold enough to wear cashmere for that many times for me to justify it. So I have found a couple of ways to get cashmere. One of them is Cardiff cashmere itself. Another one is, I just told y'all about woolly yarn. Well, woolly yarn gets mill-ins. So what happens is fashion houses buy these really large cones of yarn and they machine knit whatever they're knitting, right? And then they will have some left. They've done the entire run of one size. This is all they're going to produce, and they've got this amount of yarn left. Well, companies like Woolly Yarn go out there and say, I will buy that. Well, it's beneficial to a lot of people. The fashion house gets to get some of their cost back, so they're able to sell it. We're not sending good yarn to the landfill or anywhere. A yarn company is able to buy it at a good price, which then they are able to pass on a better price to the customer. So with the cashmere specifically, I mean, the cashmere for 100 gram, it's not a ball because it comes wound on these skeins. This right here is 100% cashmere that I bought from Woolly Yarn. It comes wound on this cone, but 100 grams is typically somewhere between $23 and $29 for 100 grams of 100% cashmere. That is a great deal. Now, there are drawbacks, right? Number one is you better get all that you want when you order it, because it is not guaranteed to be there. They are usually not going to get a restock of the same color. You have minimums. Some of them are 50 gram minimums, some of them are 100 gram minimums, which that's not really that big of a deal, because when you buy a skein of yarn, it's typically 100 or 50 grams. You can find little minis at 25, but typically you're buying a 50 gram or 100 gram skein, so that's not really that much different. There's the shipping costs that you pay, because in the United States, I'm ordering, this yarn store is in Latvia, so shipping is a bit expensive. So I do try to put in an order that justifies and makes sense to spend the shipping. I don't just order, oh, I'm just going to order, you know, 300 grams. So I'm going to spend, let's say $75, and I'm going to spend $35 on shipping. No, not doing that. But you can get really great deals. Another drawback is you cannot wait. They had some possum yarn that was, oh, it was absolutely stunning. And it was this white with some blue. I mean, oh, it was the yarn that dreams are made of. And I decided I had to wait for a payday before I could pull the trigger on it. And it was gone. So you can't sleep on it either. You gotta pull the trigger pretty fast. But if you're looking for a really great deal and some fibers that may not be as easy to find at a local yarn store, 100% cashmere, cashmere silk, and then some that are common to find, 100% merino, they have merino silk, but there's a lot of blends too that have like cashmere, merino, and silk, or fluffy cashmere and silk that's kind of an alternative to mohair. Some of those things that are a little bit harder to find, you will find somewhere like this, and you can find really great deals on them. So you're the only person that can say whether the shipping is justified or not again. So just go and browse, and I will tell you, do all of this at your own risk, because these places are addictive. It's kind of like walking into a local yarn store. I don't know about y'all, but I walk into my local yarn store and I'm like, oh, I need everything in here. It's like that online too. Now, an alternative to a shop like that where you're in Europe and you're having to, if you're in the United States, right? If you're in Europe, it's a great deal because it's already in Europe. But if you're in the United States and so you're looking at tariffs, you're looking at, you know, the shipping, so the cost is a little bit more, then there is a United States version of this store. They are in Portland, Oregon, and they are called Good Yarn, and the website is Good Yarn US. And I will link all of these places down below. I will link my local yarn store, and I will link all of these online resources that I'm giving you. Now, Good Yarn US, it's only been open, I think it's been a little bit less than a year, maybe. At least that's how long I've known about it. And they have some beautiful yarns. There's one right here that I got from them, and this is a This is a, I don't know. Anyway, it's wool something, it's tweed, it's wool, and I think there may be some cashmere in it. But anyway, this is one of the cones that I got there. They also have those minimums where it's 50 or 100 grams, and they sell it wound up on the cones. You do have to pay for the cone at Good Yarn, and I think it's $1 a cone or something, so there is a little bit of extra charge. They are starting to get in more and more of the different yarns. One thing that for me is a drawback is they tend to have cashmere only in really thin weights, so you have to hold 3 or 4 or 5 strands. I ain't doing that. I'm not holding, definitely not more than 3, but usually I'm not holding more than 2. So they don't have as many of the larger weights, like they don't have as many like DK or Sport or worsted weight cashmeres and yarns. Their yarns all tend to be kind of on the thinner side, which makes sense because a lot of fashion houses, they do use the thinner yarns. And if you're machine knitting, does it really matter if you've got 5, that you have to put 5 together to get what you want? It's not as hard as holding 5 together. So that is a little bit of a drawback for me, but I have found several fingering weight yarns that I've really liked. So I've ordered, I've got a few yarns back there from them, and they've got my eye on some other ones as well. So that is a U.S. resource that does, it's kind of the same business model as Woolly Yarn. So it is that fashion industry mill ends. Now, for cones specifically, and then I will get to some other yarns, but for cones specifically, another couple of places that I really like the yarn from. JC Rennie out of Scotland. There's one of the countries I forgot about. But JC Rennie out of Scotland, I really like their yarn. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I knit the Fosteriana. The main color was JC Rennie's Oogie Pearl. They are very similar to Holst Garn as far as their flagship product, which is their super soft. It's a Shetland merino blend, just like Holst Garn is. One of the things that JC Rennie does have, though, that Holst Garn does not, that I do like, is they have one that's a cashmere mix. And they also have, they call it bulky, I think, but it's actually a worsted weight blend of their super soft. They don't have as many colors as they do in the fingering weight, but it is a larger yarn. So there's several, and then they have this really cool thing where you can buy a box of yarn and you can tell them, hey, I'd like, you know, autumnal colors, but it's basically like not leftovers, but let's say that they have a really large cone of it and they've spun off some 50-gram cakes or whatever. And then let's say that they only have, you know, they have 150 grams left on there. It's not enough to sell as a cone, or, and they don't need any more of this anyway, whatever. They have some that are unusual weights like that. Well, you can buy, I think it's 500 grams or a kilogram, or maybe it's a kilogram and 2 kilograms. Anyway, you can buy like a box of this yarn, but you're not guaranteed colors or how many of each one you're going to get. But man, if you like to gamble, or if you aren't fussed about it because you're like, oh, I make small products, so having a small cone, that's no big deal, that might be a really great deal for you, because that is a pretty good deal. They do have pretty good deals on those from a cost perspective. So I don't have a lot of their stuff in my stash. Their shipping's not too terribly bad, but I just don't have a lot because I haven't ordered a lot. I do plan on ordering some of their worsted weight just so that I can see what that's like. But honestly, I have so many cones right now that I don't have a lot of plans to buy a lot of cones as it is. But I do think I want some more JC Rennie. At least one more. Then another place, another cone alternative, which is here in the United States. They don't have a lot of cones, but they do have a couple of things on cones. And that is, this is Knit Picks. This is the Wool of the Andes. They have Wool of the Andes on cones. And so I did buy a couple of cones whenever they had a big sale, just because I thought that color was beautiful and I wanted that color. That is a worsted weight. You don't find a lot of worsted weight cones. Most cones wind up being fingering weight, but it is nice whenever you can get a sport or a worsted weight or a DK on a cone. So there's Knit Picks that you can buy some cones. Another option that's overseas, which is a British company, is Woolly Knit, not to be confused with Woolly Yarn out of Latvia. Woolly Knit it's their yarn. And they do have some that comes in balls of yarn as well, but then they have cones, and they have different weights as well. They have fingering weight, they have DK, and I think they have Aran as well. They have different blends. They have wool. They have merino. They call it British wool. They have merino. They have cotton. They have acrylic. I don't know if they have a cotton wool blend. I was sitting there trying to think. I'm not sure about if they have a cotton wool blend. I don't believe that they have any alpaca. I like their yarn. I haven't knit anything with them yet. Got several skeins up there. Oh, and they have sock yarn too on a cone. But I have several skeins up there. I have several skeins of the sock yarn. I have several skeins of their merino and their British wool. They also do sell 200-gram hanks of their British wool and their merino. So if you don't need a whole 500-gram cone, you can get like a 200-gram cake, which is a lot of yarn in itself. The drawback for me, though, is their shipping is pretty high. It's pretty expensive. Like, they had a great deal the other, not long ago on a whole kilogram of cone of yarn, and I was like, oh, yes. But whenever I went to buy it, the shipping was almost as much as the product. I'm not doing that. So I decided to pass on that. They do have good deals on Black Friday sometimes, and that's when I bought that, was the Black Friday, the 12 Days of Christmas stuff. Not last year, but the year before. But they are on my list. I would buy from them again for sure. And they've got some absolutely beautifully stunning colors. And if you're in Europe, it's very cost effective. And Crayabaya, she loves it. She has said before it's one of her favorite yarns. So if you ever watch her, you've heard of this yarn before. Let's see, for cones again. Let me turn around just real quick. See if I'm missing anything. I've got some Ito cones up there, but those aren't necessarily I mean, that's just how they're packaged. They came up from Japan, but I don't order those from Japan. I order those from a U.S. company, and I'll talk about them in just a minute. I think that's about it for the cone-specific resources. Now, switching to, okay, I've gone to my local yarn store. They don't carry the brand. Right now, I just can't do that price point. I just can't. I need something cheaper. I need a drops. I need, Knit Picks when they put their 246 sale. I need something a lot cheaper because I'm at a time in my life that I just cannot afford what I may have to buy for hand-dyed yarn, or a, one that you might see in your local yarn store. Really great local yarn stores are going to have prices for everybody. They're going to have, and I don't want to call it cheap yarn because it's not cheap yarn, but it is more affordable yarn, like a Cascade 220 versus a, Hedgehog Fibers. The most, if it's a really great yarn store, it's going to have a range of prices and fibers that will accommodate most people's budgets. But let's just say it's a brand that you want that isn't available at your local yarn store. It's a brand that you want that's not available in the United States, like Filcolana, for instance, or Viking Garn, or Drops. So what are you to do? Well, you don't have a lot of choices except for to source from somewhere that carries it. One for me, I absolutely adore, is Ito. I love their mohair. I like their other yarns too. I think they have absolutely beautiful yarns. There is no shop around here that carries it. So what do? I go to Woolen Company. So Woolen Company is a yarn store that is in the Chicago area. It is in a suburb. It's about an hour outside of the city limits. And last year, whenever I was traveling to Chicago, a lot of friends met me there, and we went to the yarn mecca that is Woolen Company. Woo! Let me tell you, it is a dangerous place. And I walked out of there much poorer than whenever I walked in. But they have a lot of different brands. They have European brands. They have the Japanese brand from Ito. They have American brands. They have Cascade. They have Harrisville Designs. They have Danish yarns, Knitting for Olive. They have Rama. They have Isayer. They have Imyak. They carried the fiber company, who is going out of business now, but that is somewhere that you could order from if you're trying to source some of that yarn. They have just a wide variety of yarns. Rowan, I mean, if you go look, the list of brands is long and luxurious. So, and they do have some of the lower brands too, that, not lower brands, but more like you would find in a craft store, such as Karen or Lines brand. They have those as well. And they do right now have a program that I got last year. It's called a Woolly membership, and it gives you 10% off of everything for a year. And the cost of it was $50, and I have to tell you, it paid for itself my very first time, because I was in that store and I had no self-control. And I have used it, and they have something else that's called everyday favorites. So there are certain yarns that they have deemed as everyday favorites. If you spend $100, you get 10% off. As a Woolly member, you get an additional 10% off. So basically you get 20% off. And it's not 10% off of the 10% off discount. It's 20% off if you're a Woolly member on an everyday favorite if you spend $100. It doesn't have to be $100 of that particular yarn. It could be, you could buy one of 10 yarns and they're each $10, and so you spend $100 and you're getting 10% off. It's a nice little perk. But I asked the other day, hey, will that automatically renew? What do I need to do? They're apparently revamping it, and nobody knows the details yet. So I have no idea what's going to happen with that. So that's my disclaimer about that. But they do have a lot of brands, and they ship for free in the United States, no matter what size your order is. I do not know what their shipping looks like for people outside of the United States. I'm not even positive that they ship anywhere outside the United States. I'm pretty sure they do, but I won't swear to that. And again, I have no idea what the shipping cost is. But they are pretty much, if I can't find it at Letha's, and it's not one of the yarns that I want to order from overseas because of savings or anything, they are my go-to where I'm going to go and order from. You know, and also those things like, hey, Letha, I need one ball of this color of Knitting for Olive. Are you planning on doing a Knitting for Olive order anytime soon? No, I'm not going to have, I'm not going to do that. Then I'm probably just going to order that one ball from Woolen Company. And especially if it's a color that Letha has no interest in carrying, I'm not going to ask her to buy 10 balls of yarn so I can have one. So Woolen Company is my go-to after Letha. Then in the United States, Knit Picks is another really good one. They have a lot of really economical yarns. They have sales that they do a 2-4-6 where there's certain yarns that are $2 a ball, $4 a ball, $6 a ball. I have seen some videos about, oh, the Knit Picks is not good quality and it pills and it all this. Well, guess what? I pay a lot of money for cashmere and it pills. So, right, pilling doesn't mean that it's not a good quality yarn. I haven't used enough Knit Picks to be able to say yay or nay. Is it a great yarn? I don't know, but I like my chances, right? It seems reasonable enough to me. I've got a couple of sweaters out of it and I haven't had a lot of problems. So, I like Knit Picks. And yes, I know there was the big whole, oh, they have carpet beetles. This is what I'm going to say about that. I never got anything with carpet beetles in it. I never saw a video that showed actual dead bugs in their yarn. I saw nothing, and I did see Knit Picks came out and said, guys, we've had pest control come in here. We do not have carpet beetles. We do not have any evidence of this. I don't know what's going on. So I suspect that, like so often happens online, is somebody started a rumor somewhere and then everybody started saying it and it became a topic because then it's a trend and that's what's trending on YouTube and that's what's trending on this and I'm going to jump on the wagon. I don't know that for a fact. That's just my suspicion. So, having said that, I've had no problem with Knit Picks yarns. Take that with a grain of salt. You are the only one that can decide if you want to order Knit Pick yarns. Knit Pick does ship outside of the United States. I have no idea what their shipping is. For inside the United States, if you reach a threshold, and I want to say it's like $70 or $75, then it's free shipping. I won't swear to that either because usually whenever I order from them, I'm either ordering a really big sale, so I have no problem hitting like that minimum threshold, or I'm ordering a big sale and they're doing a free shipping promotion as well because they do that. All of these companies, if they have a newsletter, sign up. You'll get all of the notifications for all of these things. Let's see. Trying to think, who else do I order from within the United States on a routine basis? One other place that I do source yarn from is called Little Knits. Now, with Little Knits, they bring in, and they've got several brands, but again, it's hit or miss. They bring in brands and they apparently get like overstock. If somebody overstocked and they're looking to get rid of stuff, they'll buy it and then they'll sell it cheaper, because it's not always discontinued yarns. Sometimes it's discontinued yarns. The color's discontinued, they buy it all. Who was it? Was it Regia, I think it is, that stopped milling for a little while, and so they swooped in and bought all of the inventory. They do stuff like that, and they buy it in such a large quantity that they get a good price on it, and so then they can pass those savings on. But again, it's one of those things, when it's gone, it's gone. They're probably not getting a restock of it. They might eventually get a restock, but there's no guarantee they'll get the same colors. So you need to buy what you want when you buy it, and keep an eye out, because it's not always a great deal. Some things are. I mean, I bought alpaca socks from there. I think it's LYS Yarns. And I bought an entire 5-bag thing for less than $2 would have cost me somewhere else. So you can get really great deals there, but not everything there is a great deal. So just buyer beware. And I shouldn't say buyer beware, because there are some great deals to be had. But you just have to treat it like anywhere else. You just look at it and decide for yourself if it's worth it or not. They do have a threshold as well for free shipping. I think it's $100. I have no clue if they ship outside of the United States. And if they do, I have no clue what their shipping is. And that's about it for American companies, I believe. I mean, others are like hit or miss. Like I'll order here or there if I'm looking for a specific color of something I can't find it anywhere. But there's nowhere that I'm like, oh yeah, I always go back to them, except for the ones that I've mentioned. Editing Melissa here. I just realized 2 things I missed. One was another U.S. company that I go back to for very specific yarns, and that is Hillesvåg. And I go to SU Fibers. They have the best price on Hillesvåg, and they have been wonderful as far as customer service. I've corresponded with the owner a couple of times. She's been absolutely fantastic to deal with, and they add new colors, and they have some other yarns that I want to try. They've got Knoll, which I understand is very, very much like Holst Garn, and then they also have another one. I forget the name of it, but anyway, it is another brand from overseas that is something that we don't get very often here, and it's one that I've been wanting to try. So that is on my list as well. And then the other thing was, I talked a lot about Cardiff Cashmere, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I can tell you where to get it for a better deal, blah, 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 blah. I can't buy it in the United States. And then I didn't tell you where I buy it. So let me throw that in there, right? I buy Cardiff Cashmere out from a company out of Italy. And that company is Itaca. I-T-A-C-A. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, if it's Itaca. Anyway, it is out of Italy. And they also have, the other brand is, just drew a blank. I'll put a little note down here. But I just, see, Cecia. It's Itaca Yarns they also have. And they have Cardiff Cashmere. They have the entire thing. They have their silk. They have their camel. They have their classic, small, large, brush light, brush mare, prime. And then they have, in Itaca, they have a merino in a couple of weights, I think. And then they have a mohair, which is really nice. So I order from there. And I've told you that retail in the U.S. for a 25-gram ball of Cardiff Cashmere Classic is $30. And if I buy it not on sale in Italy, it's 12 some odd euros, which works out to be, I think, around $15. If you get it on sale, you can get it as low as like 10 euros. And they do sales several times a year. They just had a winter sale. So that is a really great place to source. And then for the shipping from there, if you get your order over $200, it's $15 for shipping. So that's not bad shipping at all. And if you're buying a sweater quantity of cashmere, you're most likely going to be spending a couple of $100. And if not, you can always get with a friend and split shipping. So anyway, I thought that I would come back on here to say that, because I just thought, you know what? If I told you all about Cardiff, I should probably tell you where I buy it. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. Now, once we get out of the United States, because there are some yarns that I love that are not available in the United States. They just aren't. They are not sold here. Drops is one of them. I think it might be sold in one store somewhere in the United States, but I don't know. And it is much, much easier for me to buy Drops yarn overseas. And there are 3 places that I go to for my Drops yarn. I am either going to Wool Warehouse. That is out of Great Britain. I think it's in England itself. I know it's part of the UK. It's like a large crafting company. I think they have more than just wool. They have fabric and stuff too. They have other brands that I like too. They have West Yorkshire Spinners. They have Rowan. They have they have a lot of British brands. They have a little bit of Danish yarn, but they have a lot of British brands. But they do have drops, and so anytime that it goes on sale, guys, let me tell you, this is the first stop for everybody because their shipping's really cheap too. It's only like $5, and so it's really, really nice. But this is everybody's first stop. And so when Drops does their sale, guys, you either need to get in there immediately or you need to be willing to wait until they have a restock and hope that they restock in that month so that you get the good price. The good news is Drops yarns go on sale all the time. There's new yarns every month. So if you miss out on the Daisy this month, it's probably coming back up in a couple of months. Never fear. So Wool Warehouse I go to, I do try to source my West Yorkshire Spinners there. It is cheaper to get, imagine that, cheaper to get a British yarn from somewhere in Britain. And then Drops I do just because of the shipping. But I typically, if I'm buying Drops and I'm doing the sale, I'm either going to LindeHobby or Rito. Those are both in Denmark and they are craft companies. I'm usually going somewhere like that. I typically favor LindeHobby. And the reason I typically favor LindeHobby is they use FedEx to ship it to me. So I get it in like 3 days from Denmark. And it's not prohibitively expensive. I want to say it's about $15. It does go up as you get into higher weights, but I want to say it's up to a kilogram or 2 kilograms. There's weight limits for Rito and Woolen Company that the post office puts a weight limit, and it's maybe 2 kilograms that is the weight limit, and then you have to do a separate order. So if you're ordering a lot, you may have to split it up so you'd have extra shipping. With FedEx, I may have to pay a little bit more, but it's all going to be in one order. So I typically go there. They also carry things like Viking Garn that I really like. They carry Itaca Yarns, which I like. They have a linen that is just scrumptious. They carry, they do carry like Sandus Garn and stuff, but I've already told you I'm buying that from my local yarn store because Letha carries Sandus Garn. I'm not ordering that from them. They carry, who else do they carry? They carry Lang Yarns. They carry, I think it's Heart Yarn is how you say it. It's spelled different, but it's another Danish brand. They carry my Svarta Ferret, my llama. They carry that, and they got some nice merino too. They carry, what else do they carry? They carry Lana Grossa. They carry a plethora of different yarns. And so I go there for my Drops. I go there for Itaca Yarns. I go there for the Svarta, my llama yarn. I source Viking Garn. I go there. Rito carries a lot of the same brands. Rito also carries Infinity Heart, and LindeHobby carries, I think it's called Handmade. I think that's the name of that brand. And LindeHobby also has their own house brand called LindeHobby. Another Danish company that carries some of these brands and also carries their own brand, which is Friends, is Hobbii, and their shipping is fairly cheap as well. And if you hit a threshold, they will ship to you in the United States for free. And the price that you see on there with LindeHobby, Wool Warehouse, and Rito, tariffs get added at the end. So you put everything in there, your subtotal says one thing, and then all of a sudden it adds in tariffs as well as the shipping, so it can raise it by quite a bit. The price that you see on Hobbii, that includes your tariffs. So the only thing that's going to be added to your subtotal is going to be if there's any tax due, which most of the time there's not because it's coming from overseas. It would just be tariffs. That's already in the price. And then your shipping if you're paying any shipping. If you're not, because you've hit a threshold, then that's free. All right, so those are my ones for go-to, like things like that I can't find. If I'm looking specifically for a Filcolana, because those are not available here, then I am going to one of three places. There is, I'm going to say Wet Coast Wools, and I won't swear to you that they carry Filcolana. They do carry some other brands, though, that we can't get here that I really like. Wet Coast Wools is in Vancouver, Canada. I have actually physically been there, and so I would order from them again. I really, really like them. They carry a lot of really nice yarns. If I'm ordering Filcolana, I'm checking there. I am looking at Garntopia, which is out of Norway, and they have a lot of different brands. They have Itaca, they have Rowan, they have Lana Grossa, they have Filcolana, they have it's one that Petite Knit uses a lot, and I cannot think of the name of it. Hellhost. They have that. They have Gepard. They have Rama. They just have a lot of brands. They have Cardiff Cashmere there as well. It is more expensive than Itaca, but they do have Cardiff Cashmere there for a better price than you can get it here. I think they show prices in US dollars. I won't swear to that. But shipping here, it starts at like $40. So you better be getting a great deal if you're shipping here. I have ordered a couple of things from there. A couple of fairly large orders whenever I first started sourcing from overseas, before I found some that had better shipping costs. And so I don't order a lot from Garntopia anymore, but you can get some great bargains there. And yarns that you cannot find here. But my primary source, if I'm getting Filcolana, is I am going to go out to the Tuku Wool website. And I can't pronounce the name of it. It's like T-I-T-Y, so I don't know. I'll link it. But it is the Tuku Wool website. And they don't just carry Tuku Wool. They carry Tuku Wool. They carry Filcolana. They carry Itaca. They carry some Lana Grossa. They carry the Rito Yarns. And they do sales. This is another one. Make sure you sign up for their newsletter. They do sales, and they will put Itaca mohair on sale. They will put Filcolana mohair on sale, and they're usually a fairly good sale. So if I'm looking for Filcolana, that's usually my first stop. So that gives you, and that one is in, I'm not completely sure what country that's in. It's in the EU somewhere. So that's kind of all of the European companies that I would buy from, with a Canada company thrown in. And then I have one more that I would like to talk about, and that is an Australian company that I have ordered from. I've only ordered from once. They are currently, as far as I know, not shipping to the United States, which breaks my little heart in two. Because so far, now I haven't used their yarn yet, but ooh, what I have felt of it, ooh, yes. I may have to call them and be like, so, can I buy from y'all? I'm okay with paying duties. I just need to buy from y'all. We'll see after I knit it up. But that is Bendigo Woolen Meals. And if you are in Australia and you have not ever used Bendigo Woolen Meals, you should for sure check them out. Because I'm pretty sure that they have free shipping within Australia. It may be a price that you have to hit a threshold. I don't know that, but I think that they do at some point offer free shipping within Australia. And they actually have sent me color cards, which was really, really cool. And let me tell you, the ladies there, they are so incredibly sweet, and they will help you. I had ordered 2 colors. This is for a color work. It was 2 tweed colors. And I had ordered, and I was wondering what was taking so long, because it had been like 3 weeks and I hadn't gotten a shipping notice. So I emailed them. I asked them about it. And they emailed back and said, oh, well, we're still making that one color. And this was right before tariffs were fixing to hit. And nobody at that point knew what was going to happen. We didn't know what that was going to look like. And it wasn't tariffs were going to hit. It was that $800 threshold was going to be taken away. So they gave me choices. They said, well, you can wait on the yarn, and it may or may not get to you before that hits you. So you may have to pay some taxes, and we don't know what that will be, and you just have to be okay with it. Or you can change out the yarn for a different color. Well, or you could cancel the order. Well, that wasn't an option. So I decided that I would switch the color. Then it wound up, I could have waited because I would have gotten it. But anyway, I wound up switching the color. I wasn't sure what colors I wanted. And I wasn't sure that I just wanted to change that one color and then keep the brown that I was going to get and just change it to a different light color, or if I wanted to change them both. So I asked them if they could help me pick, and could they possibly send me some pictures of some different pairings. Guys, those ladies went above and beyond. Not only did they send me all of these pictures for ones that I asked for, they also found some that they thought would go good together that I hadn't thought of, and sent me pictures of those. And they're like, oh, would you like some more pictures? Oh, and by the way, that original pairing that you thought of, well, we don't have it in the worsted, but here's the pictures of them in the DK so that you can see. And here's the pictures of the one that you're thinking about. And here you can compare these. And oh, we'd love to go and help you match some more. Guys, that is awesome, awesome service. I was so excited, and I thanked them profusely, and they were like, oh, we had so much fun. We really enjoy doing this. So I cannot recommend them enough. All right, I think that's it. I'm sitting here trying to think, have I missed somewhere that I source yarn from? And I don't think so. I think that I have pretty much told you where I buy my yarns from. If I've forgotten anything, I'll put it down in the show notes. If you know of another company, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Like, if you have a go-to place to get yarn from, let me know. And also, feel free to shout out your local yarn store, especially if they ship. Because, let me tell you, I want some Majo yarn. And there is a store, because it is the local yarn store of Easily Knit Fluenced. But I cannot find where they ship anything. And I'm like, no, I need you to ship me some of this yarn. So I may wind up having to order that from overseas in France. But we'll see. So anyway, if you have a local yarn store that ships, be sure to shout it out in the comments. And if you have an online go-to store that you're like, oh, you missed these people, and I'm sure that Pearl Soho is going to come up, but I have not ordered anything from there, even though I actually was in their store back whenever they had a brick and mortar store. But I've not ever used any of their yarns, so I can't recommend them or not. But all of these stores that I have told you about, I have personally either physically gone there and bought yarn, or I have bought yarn online, or I've done both. So these are all stores that I have purchased from, and nothing has happened to me. I've not been hacked. Most of them will let you pay, especially the overseas ones will let you pay through PayPal, so you've got a little added layer of protection. All right, guys, well, I hope that maybe this helps you out on finding some yarn stores. And remember, it is local yarn store first if you are at all able to do that. Because if we don't support our local yarn stores, who will?